Today we talk about plumbing. Plumbing is so exciting that Albert Einstein would have done it had he had another chance. Now, this is what happened when plumbers and electricians don't get along. That's not really a good look right there. So, in your engineering notebook, you do not need to write this down, but let's take a look at this. The Romans were sort of the first ones to use a plumbing system. They had aqueducts that transported water. There's a little aqueduct there. That's not back in Roman times because there's a car there. And they used lead pipes, which probably had unintended consequences later on. Lead poisoning. They also had a wastewater system. They had chamber pots in residences, which they just dumped out the window, which is not great for your neighbor. They had toilets. This is like the luxury area. This is an area of latrines. They had these wooden planks, and you can see there's little cutouts here where people would actually sit down. These connected into channels, so they actually had a flowing sewage system. And there was some private wastewater system connections. So the Romans were sort of the first ones to figure this out. And now we have a modern water supply system. So I have a little pencil icon here. I would like you to do your best to draw out some of these things. And I'm going to explain which ones I want you to draw. First of all, you need to note that a water supply system has hot and cold potable water. I also need you to note that a fixture is something that uses water, like a sink, toilet, dishwasher. So you need to know what a fixture is. On the final, they use the word fixture. And if you're not sure what that means, that's going to be a problem. So note that a fixture is something like sink, toilet, dishwasher. You also need to know that a water heater, what it is, a water heater is placed inside the house. You see where the arrow is. Water heater is something that heats up the water, obviously. But I want you to note down here at the bottom, the only thing that we get from the city is cold water. This little circle here is the meter. So we get cold water, we have to heat it up ourselves, and then from there we distribute hot water. So you're going to make a plumbing system for your residential design, and you're going to need to put the hot water heater in a place that is intended to be the crawl space, and then you put hot water lines from that. So that is the hot water heater. You got to know what that means. There are trunk lines. We don't need to note this down. I'm just going to point these out. Trunk lines are just where it branches off like tree trunks. And then branch lines, again, are, like where it's branching off and serving. So let's move on from here. Actually, a couple other things to point out here. Hot water goes to things like, this is the washing machine, hot and cold. You have here a sink, hot and cold. You have a toilet, which is only cold. Toilets do not need hot water. And then the sink and tub is hot and cold. The water main is a supply pipe installed and maintained by the public entity on a public property. But the water service is the pipe from the water main to the building. So the city has a water main down the street, and the water service line goes to service all the building. You also have a meter that is outside of the building that determines how much water that you're using. And then there is a valve that is a fitting to control the water flow. So here's sort of how this is all sketched out. Your water main goes under the road, and then you have your service line into the house. And there's one main valve inside here. You have it down in your basement, your crawl space. There's a giant valve, and it's not giant, but it's usually just like a single red lever, and it turns 90 degrees like this. And that's how you turn your water on and off for your entire house. So go home and turn your water supply off for your house and see if anybody notices that the water doesn't work. Actually, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. Okay, so then here's your little valve that's controlling how much water you're actually using, and that's how they can charge you. Now let's look at the drain waste vent system. The drain waste vent system is how we get rid of all the water. So I do need you to make a note of some of these things. Some of you are going to try to draw these pictures. That's fine. It doesn't have to be this complicated, but there is a color system in here for a reason. So a drain waste vent system is a network of pipes that transport wastewater and sewer gases from the building. The drain pipe, that's the first thing they need you to write down on this one, carries wastewater in a building. That's this green one. So from the toilet, we're carrying all this wastewater. It's all connecting out here. We're connecting wastewater from the washing machine. That's connecting out here. From the bathtub, from the sink, it's all connecting out here. Those are all your drain pipes. Now, you'll notice these orange pipes, these are vent pipes. So the reason that we need to vent all of these things is that if you don't have a vent, then you're going to have gurgling. When you are flushing the toilet or when you are pushing water down the sink, all that water is going to form sort of a vacuum as it's pulling the water through. And so it starts to gurgle because air has to get back up into it. Well, in order to combat that, what they did was they put these vent pipes, these orange pipes that go up into your roof. So if you look at your roof when you go home today, you're probably going to see these little vents that stick up out of your roof. They are all connected into the drain pipes right here. And so every one of these pipes underneath your sink has a pipe going, it actually goes into the wall, but into the wall it goes up and it goes down. And the up is the vent pipe. And we probably got a chance to see some of these during our construction site visit if we got a chance to go do that. You also have these things called traps, and these traps are these U-shaped fittings, so that way water gets trapped into there, and then you don't have sewage gas, this poop gas, coming up into your sink. So as you're brushing your teeth, then you smell that, which would be horrible. So water actually just sits inside there until more water comes and pushes that water out. And that makes a little trap, a water trap, to make sure that you don't have sewer gases come back through. The stack of all these things is called a stack. It's just all these things stacked together. So I don't really put a mark in that you need to write that down. But the clean out is this little yellow thing. If you have an issue, like maybe there's roots that are starting to puncture into here and grow into here and clog your pipes, then there's a way to access this and clean this all out so that you can get water flowing again. Sewage is any liquid waste containing animal or vegetable matter, liquids containing chemicals. Any of those things are called sewage. You have a sanitary pipe that carries it out. A storm sewer pipe carries storm water, but not sewage. So all of these things, these are lateral pipes that come alongside the road. So we'll show you where those look. Here's your lateral pipe that carries it from your house out to the street. And then you have your main into the street that carries it all the way to the wastewater treatment plant and cleans it all up, which you got a chance to see when you were freshmen. That was so fun. So we don't need to write these things down here, but I want to talk to you about plumbing codes. Plumbing codes exist for the protection of health and safety of community. So you have to have all of these things have to be met from a construction standpoint, really for reducing widespread disease, making sure water is safe to drink, and making sure that plumbing, works the way that it's supposed to work. So there's international codes to meet for those things. Always, always, always keep into consideration energy conservation. If you locate the hot water conditioner or the hot water heater in a conditioned space inside, not out in the garage, that makes it more efficient because it doesn't have to heat up the hot water heater itself. You can insulate the hot water heater. You can insulate the hot water pipes to make sure that the hot water stays hot in them and it doesn't cool down. So these are all ways that you can have energy conservation. All of these really make a big difference when you're doing a pipe and plumbing system. So if you can reduce the amount of distance that the hot water has to travel, your water system is more efficient. See if you can do that when you are putting out your plumbing system. Try to make it as efficient as possible with the least amount of pipes that are traveling from your hot water heater. So next, you're going to be doing your plumbing plan, and there's more information on that to follow. Have fun.